Hello everyone, and welcome to You've Retired, Now What? I'm here to help you navigate through these waters of deciding what's the rest of my life going to look like? What's my next phase going to look like? What have I not done that I wanted to do? I'm your host, Michael Kiffmeyer, and each week on this podcast, I give you tips and tricks, processes, and methodologies that can help you through your thought process. So we got a whole lot to talk about. Let's dive in. You know, there's just about 5 hurdles that people have to overcome in retirement. When we were working, we just thought that everything's great, we're going to retire and just relax. But then all of a sudden this little switch turns on in the back of your mind and you start to worry. And it's just a natural thing to do. But I want to share with you, there's some solutions on how you can get over some of these things that you worry about. Number one worry, obviously, is financial. You sat down perhaps with a financial planner. You thought you had all this planned out. And then all of a sudden, wait a minute. There's inflation that you hadn't counted on. There is, all of a sudden you've learned that if you retire at 65, we're going to live perhaps another 25 to 30 years, according to doctors and social scientists. And that's because we've got better health care now, and we're taking better care of ourselves as well. So we're living longer. So what can you do to start to plan financially? I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm a coach and a life transformation specialist. I'm not a financial planner. But when I talk to financial planners, here's what they tell me. Number one, you need to keep meeting with a financial advisor on a regular basis, even after you retired. I know you think you're going to sit it and forget it, but this world now has too many moving parts, and if you don't see what the latest and the greatest is and talk it over with your financial planner, you could find yourself in a world of hurt. The other thing you can do as far as a solution for making sure you have enough money to last through the course of your life is you can diversify. Maybe you have things in stocks. That's wonderful. Real estate, and maybe a few other things. So you're not just dependent on one item for any kind of income that you're looking for. One item can lead you to failure real quick, and then you can get into trouble. And other things that you can do, you know, there's many more people over the age of 65 and 70 now working. Why are they doing that? They're not working full-time all the time. Some of them are just working part-time. But it's because inflation has eaten up some of the savings that they already had. And you've done your best, but there's no way that you can plan on a major hit. Look, what did I see today? A loaf of bread now is up almost 40%. Ground beef is up almost 50%. Ever look at steaks lately? Astronomical. So even though you think you'll cut back once you retire, old habits die hard. What I mean by that is this, that once you develop spending habits, unless you have a serious meeting with yourself and your significant other, you don't change. And then you forget that you don't have that income coming in like you always had. And what are you going to do then? What are you going to do? And many times people have to go back to work. They don't go back to work because they love it. They go back to work out of necessity. So you have to decide, you know, what's best for you. So the second hurdle people have to overcome is they have to overcome health issues. Doctors say that once you get past the age of 50, things start to go wrong. I never knew this, played athletics my whole life, and things go wrong. The body wears out. So how have you planned for that? You know, one major sickness or illness can wipe you out altogether. And you got to plan for it. You got to plan for if you get older and you can't work, how are you going to approach it? How are you going to approach that? Perhaps you have to go into a facility. Those facilities cost money. I mean, $6,000, $7,000, even $10,000 a month. You don't have that income you had before, so you got to plan for this. All right. None of us want to be a burden to our children and our relatives or anybody else. We need to ensure, and we need to constantly look at what we have for the future. And if we're not saving the right way, or if we're not invested the right way, where can we move it around so that we have better income? You need to stay active. I have witnessed people that are sedentary as they get older. They seem to go before their time, and we don't want to be in that position. We've got another, perhaps, as I said earlier, 20 or 30 years to live. You got to ask yourself on a continuous basis, what am I going to do? Something as simple as a walk. If you like to go to the gym, as I do, this can help. Maybe you just do Pilates or yoga. All that's fine. But it's keeping you active. It's keeping your body active, which takes us into segment number 3. How about your mental health, okay? Your mental health is as important as your physical health. You've probably witnessed or you've heard people saying, I just don't have any friends anymore. I'm lonely. Well, when you worked, you had all these people that you interacted with on a regular basis. And they were part of your life, and you might not have considered them a friend, but that was your social circle. And now all of a sudden that's gone. So what can you do to have a better social circle? Well, you can get online. There's communities, there's groups, there's special interest groups. There are people that just want to be part of a community so they can communicate one-on-one. I understand it's different, but it beats the alternative. And the alternative is sitting there like you are a slug on a log, or you're just not doing anything. People have a real bad tendency to do mind games with themselves. I can recall at a point in my career when I was a recruiter, a headhunter, if you will, and people, especially from the automobile industry up out of the Detroit area, they lost their jobs, and these were very intelligent people, but they just had the wind knocked out of them. And I'd hear stories, well, my grandfather worked there, my dad there, etc., and it goes on and on. Look, once the Japanese automakers started to come into the United States back in the late 80s, early 90s, this all shifted. And you can't sit there and think everything is going to stay the same. It doesn't. Change is inevitable. I don't care what career, what job you're in, what you're doing, change happens. And if you're not prepared to adjust to that change, well, you're not going to thrive in the retirement that you always thought were possible. You could have planned all the way to this point, and then all of a sudden, it's kind of like you're telling yourself, uh-oh, this is not working quite as the way I had planned. Well, don't despair, because folks like me and other groups, if you reach out and try to interact with some of these groups, they can help you. And I think what you're going to be amazed about more than anything, they're probably in the same shoes you are. If you know friends that are at retirement age, you think they got it all put together, and granted, some of them do. But I'll tell you what, I read recently that people retire with less than $25,000 at the age of 65. That's not going to carry you very far. say you made between you and your significant other, let's say you made $150,000, $200,000 a year. Now you're down on this pension of, let's say, I don't know, $6,000, $7,000 a month. There's a whole big gap there. So I'm sharing with you that you need to constantly look at this. The old feeling was once you retired, you were finished. There's nothing further from the truth. I know I retired and I did it for about 2 years and I needed something to do, okay? A person needs a sense of purpose. And your purpose is to get out there, get active, find something you like, and do that in lieu of a job. Perhaps you want to volunteer. Perhaps you are in a real good position that your finances are better than you had hoped for. And you got the opportunity to give back. That can be very, very rewarding. And I would suggest to you, why don't you find an interest that really interests you? You can go vacation all you want to, all right? But I'm going to tell you, sooner or later, something's going to tap you on the shoulder and you're going to say, now what? And that's how I named this podcast, Now What? Hey guys, real quick, if you've been struggling to answer the question, now what, after you've retired, I'd like to invite each and every one of you to my free Now What challenge that can help you reignite your spark, give yourself a sense of direction, try to decide exactly what it is you want to do in this next phase of your life. People are very smart and they get worn out. I know that. But eventually they know they got to do something more. And you need a purpose to get up and out of that bed each and every morning. I have tools, processes, and methodologies that I'm going to share with you in this challenge that I believe will help you clear your mind and decide exactly what you're going to do in this next phase of your life. I can recall a few years back going to one of my class reunions from high school. And I grew up in the Midwest and I live in California now. But many people where I grew up, they retire in their minds before their time. They're not mentally sharp any longer. They're not involved in anything. You know, I read that the average retiree at the age of 65 retires at 65. They're watching damn near 38 to 40 hours a week worth of television. That's a lot of television. Those are things that you could, that's time you could use to do other things. Probably the fourth thing that you want to pay attention to, and I alluded to it earlier, is your social cycle. Or your social network is a better word for it. Social network meaning we were meant to interact with people. When you went to work on a day-to-day basis, you knew exactly where you needed to be, what was expected of you, what you were going to do. This retirement takes work. I know you don't want to hear that, but it does. It takes work. So you have to find something that is going to fill your time now that you're not working. I got to tell you, I was a person that worked those 60, 80, and sometimes 100-hour work weeks because I was in education and marketing and sales together. I would help major organizations teach their people, their distributors, and their clients or customers on whatever the intellectual capital is they wanted to feed that audience with. And it took a lot of time, but I stepped back and once if anyone on this podcast is like me, I always refer to myself as a type A to the 64th power. I always have been a person who had to stay active and I had to do something. But then I retired, and I did that for a couple years. Wrote a few things, but I said I need to move to number 5. I needed a sense of identity. I would think that you are probably even thinking to yourself, well, I've done this and I worked for 40 years. I took all the vacations I wanted. I had a lot of free time, fixed the things around the house a lot. Now what? Now what am I going to do? One of the hardest things and one of the most disheartening things that happens to us after we retire is we've lost our identity. When we worked, you were either let's say you were a boss or you were a normal worker, whatever. But you knew every morning when you woke up what you were going to do. You knew what was expected of you. You knew what your role and responsibilities were. And that fulfilled you. And now, boom, it's all been pulled away. It's all been pulled away because you haven't really started to do what you had planned to do while you worked. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you have a plan and you put that plan down and you have a timeline and that you're going to accomplish something, then that starts to give you a sense of purpose. You don't feel like you're slighted that you don't have a job anymore. And I would say most of you don't really want a full-time job. But if you do, great. One of the biggest segments of the population that's growing in the workforce right now are people over the age of 70. Some are doing it because that makes them fulfilled. More are doing it because out of necessity. And if that fits you, then go for it. If you need some ideas, there's places like Flex Jobs, other places. You can become an affiliate for people like Target and Amazon, whatever. And if you want to know what that's all about, it's basically you have a site or you have a page, Facebook page, and you have one of their links. You sign up to, say, Home Depot, for example. You sign up to be an affiliate, and if somebody clicks on that, if you've got their Home Depot's logo anywhere on your page or a product anywhere on your page, you're going to get a commission. So this is going to give you the freedom. The greatest thing about your identity now is that you can define exactly what it is. I want to share with you the majority of my life, I was a people pleaser. And I'm still a kind person. I don't mean that by any stretch of the imagination. But what I mean is that I did what everybody expected of me. I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, even though I might not have wanted to do it. And why did we do it? Well, we had responsibilities. We had a family to support. And we needed that regular paycheck. So that's why we did it. We traded time for money. But now you don't have to do that any longer. And you need to spend some time figuring out exactly where you want to be and what do I want to do now. I did all this. And please feel free to move away from what you used to do and try something new. You don't have to answer to anybody except yourself and your significant other, perhaps your family. But you've done for everybody your whole life, and you've worked, and it felt good. But you might be suffering from identity crisis right now. You got a lot of time to live, and you should define what that is. You need to know what your values are. You need to know what your interests are, and those two have to connect. And if you think you have an interest in something new and it doesn't mesh with your values, it's not going to work. And the great thing is, because you don't have to answer to anyone else right now, your identity can be whatever it is you want to. And you might start down a path and do it for a month or two, and you say, you know what, this doesn't feel right. Good. Move on to something else. You don't put yourself in a box. And I think too many people have done that. When I was growing up, I was told you had to go to college, you had to do this. Well, not only did I go to college, but it was hard to get there because we didn't come from any kind of money. I actually had to go to the service first to get some of my college education paid for, along with working. You do what you have to do. And I'll give you an analogy. Think of now, this time of your life, in retirement. It's not the end. It's an opportunity. And think back like when you all went to school or took your first job, whatever it is you did. Remember the thought process you went through? Why can't you do that again? Why can't you go through and say, I'm going to reset for this next phase of my life? And that's what it is, okay? You're not ready to quit. There's too much to do out there in this world. And with the aid of technology, we can do so much more now, and they've made it, the technology industry has made it much more simple. And too many people, they're worried about their identity, but I hear, well, I'm too old for that. Listen, I was 37 years old before I ever touched a computer seriously. I had, a job in consumer products. I sold Levi's. I sold light bulbs. I was a teacher. And all of a sudden, I saw technology taking off. And I said, you know what? I better get on the train before it leaves me. And I did, and it's turned into a career. I learned how to marry my educational background with technology background and became involved with one of the first companies to offer online learning. I remember back then they looked at us like we had two heads. Look where it is today. And now the new advent of technology is artificial intelligence. Don't be afraid of it. It's a great time saver. You'd be amazed how much you can do in a short amount of time. But if you have it in your mind that you would like to retire, great. It's wonderful. But you need something to do, and you need a sense of purpose. I want to thank you for listening today. Anybody else that feels that you feel could benefit from these podcasts, please send them the information and the link and tell them what this podcast is all about. I want to thank you all for listening today. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if any of you have any other questions or topics you'd like to talk more about, please reach out to me. I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter, even on TikTok. YouTube. I got a YouTube channel. It's michaelkiffmeyer.com. And I hope you all come visit. Give me your needs, because what I want to do more than anything right now, I want to be of service to you. Did it for a long time in corporate America. Now I want to serve individuals and help them turn their dreams and their visions into reality. I thank you and see you soon. Hey, before we conclude this episode, I'd like each and every one of you to know that your thoughts, your dreams, and what you would like to get out of this podcast is valuable to me. My whole goal and my mission is to serve you like I have served others. For years I had taught major corporations how to use learning as a competitive advantage. I want to do the same for you. So please leave your notes or reach out to me, and I want to gear this podcast towards your wants and needs and help you as much as I can. Again, this is Michael Kiffmeyer, and you've listened to You've Retired, Now What? I want to thank each and every one of you for listening.